Police are investigating a suspected hazing incident involving Ngee Ann Polytechnic students who urinated on others.
All residents of an NUS hostel are undergoing swab tests after traces of COVID-19 were detected in the wastewater there.
And a man known as Metakovan, who paid a record $93 million for digital artwork, talks to us about his newfound fame.
I'm finding it quite interesting. Had people walk up to me today in the morning and be like, "Are you this guy in the newspaper, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Welcome to The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
And I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. The police are investigating Ngee Ann Polytechnic students for harassment in a suspected hazing ritual.
In a video circulating online, a group of men in black t-shirts can be seen urinating on two naked men in a shower cubicle on the poly grounds. The two men were made to squat and face the wall.
One of the men, dressed in black, shouted "no showering" when a victim tried to clean himself. The Straits Times has contacted Ngee Ann Poly regarding the incident.
Following the detection of COVID-19 traces in wastewater at an NUS hostel, affected residents must undergo PCR testing at swabbing stations specially set up on site, and they have to remain indoors until results are out. Those affected live in 13 units in North Tower in University Town. 13
new COVID-19 cases were confirmed today, all imported.
Well, this is the 11th straight day that no local transmissions were reported. More details will be released later tonight.
Meanwhile, at a meeting in Putrajaya today, Singapore Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan and his Malaysian counterpart Hishamuddin Hussein agreed to progressively restore cross-border travel for other groups of travellers. This in addition to the existing reciprocal green lane and a periodic commuting arrangement.
Both countries also agreed to allow cross-border travel for compassionate reasons in the coming months, as well as agreed to work towards recognizing each other's vaccine certificates to facilitate cross-border travel in the future.
In just about 2 weeks, on April 7th, it'll be a year since Singapore went into the circuit breaker.
That's right, and your lives may have changed since then through exercise, a new hobby or skill, or maybe you switched jobs or even started your own business.
Now, we want to know your story, so share it with us by completing this sentence with the word or phrase, "Circuit breaker changed my ... Now, you can send an email which comprises a photo or drawing together with a short description of your experience to stshare@sph.com.sg.
Or you can share your photo or video on Instagram with a caption describing how your life has changed in the past year. Remember to tag it with #CircuitBreaker 1 year on. The deadline for submissions is this Friday, March the 26th.
If you don't already know, a digital art piece has recently made headlines for fetching close to 100 million Singapore dollars. Now have a look at the record-smashing piece, a virtual mosaic by artist Beeple.
It was sold for $93 million to entrepreneur Vignesh Sundaresan, who goes by the moniker Metakovan, his alter ego in the virtual world. He bought it with cryptocurrency.
Similarly, the artwork only exists digitally, not a physical, tangible piece. The image file is linked to a non-fungible token or NFT.
What is an NFT, if you're wondering? Well, it's a digital object that can be a drawing, animation, piece of music, photo or video with a certificate of authenticity created by blockchain which can't be compromised. The certificate is needed if the NFT is exchanged or sold. Now, the NFT doesn't exist in physical form, which is a big difference from the paintings, sculptures or even bottles of wine or sneakers amassed by most collectors.
So, examples of NFTs include the Nyan Cat, the gif of a rainbow casting feline that became a viral meme back in 2011. Fast forward to last month, the original gif was sold at an online auction for 300 Ether, a cryptocurrency that was equivalent to nearly $600,000 at the time.
And just yesterday, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey sold his first tweet from March the 21st, 2006 as an NFT for just over 2.9 million US dollars.
Let's welcome Vignesh Sundaresan, or as he's better known, Metakovan. Hi Vignesh. Now Vignesh, as you know, NFTs are intangible and don't exist in the physical world, but you spent a record $93 million on this famous NFT artwork, a piece of virtual mosaic. Why did you decide to buy it?
I believe it's valuable, and I understand that it might take some time for the world to also understand its value, but that's okay for me because not everything is priced at the right way at the beginning of a new movement. So I believe that there's a new NFT movement that's going on, a cultural movement, if I can call it, where we are having artists and collectors directly meet on the internet. And I think this piece becomes the beacon for all of this. And Beeple, being one of the most prolific artists of our generation, I believe he's the artist of our generation. And his work itself is an inspiration. He has done this piece over 5,000 days every day. So when he got married, when he had a kid, right? Like every day. And the message is simple. If you work hard, if you work honest, over 5,000 days, you would be successful, right? Like, so I also vibe with that message, and I think it will be an inspiration to a lot of people around the world. But more than that, I think this specific NFT gives a huge amount of attention to what's going on in the metaverse and in the crypto space.
Right. Well, perhaps you have answered this question already in terms of, the passion and the love that you have for this form of art. But Vignesh, is NFT, worth the value since, all it takes is an internet connection to sort of, for lack of a better word, own it?
I don't think, I don't think we should use the word own it, where, you can obviously download the picture of anything on the internet, even a Mona Lisa, right? So if I just download the picture of Mona Lisa, does not mean I own it, right? And in the same way, the NFT itself is the provenance to owning something digitally. So it's very interesting because it's for the first time, digital art can be owned with provenance. So I have this NFT was signed by the artist, and it came, like, it was transferred to me after the sale. So all of this has been recorded on the blockchain. So that is provenance, and most of the time the traditional art world spends its time and money just figuring out the provenance of the traditional art. So this makes it easier. So if you ask me, it is even better than owning a traditional piece of art.
Well said. Well, Vignesh, I have a bit of a personal question to ask. Now, you under your Metakovan pseudonym caused quite the stir when, of course, news of your purchase went viral online. Now, before this, you've used this moniker to remain anonymous and only up till recently revealed your true identity. Why did you decide to come out now?
I've operated as Metakovan for a while now, more than a year. And I think Metakovan itself, like, it's very common to have a pseudonym in the gaming world and even on Twitter and Instagram, right? Like, today, pseudonyms were very common. Most of us get started as a pseudonym. But in the gaming world, it also removes all the judgment that people carry about each other. So I really enjoyed being the pseudonym. And even into the future, I think Metakovan has this beautiful history now. I've been operating. What I cannot promise you is that I will be operating Metakovan forever, right? Like, it could be other people, more than one also. So I want to leave that mystery there. But the reason I came out and of the pseudonym and identified myself was that I didn't think this will blow up this big. We thought it'll be one of the things we have been doing for a while now, right? But when it blew up, it got unnecessary attention, I think, the pseudonym, because I didn't want this to be the topic of conversation. We wanted the piece to be the topic of conversation, the NFT itself. So I thought, okay, let's just get that out. And also, I think the story behind the collector, which is me in this case, is also very important to this piece. And my like if my story can help, make a crypto more legitimate all over the world, that'll be awesome for me. So I think for that, I'd be okay to reveal myself.
But Vignesh, do you think your life will be a little bit more complicated now that, there is a face to Metakovan?
It's been quite like I'm not used to I'm not used to this. I'm finding it quite interesting. Had people like walk up to me today in the morning and be like, "Are you this guy in the newspaper, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." So it's been different, but I think I'm okay because it's not like I'm a cine actor or something, right? Like I believe that after this news cycle, I'll go back to being Metakovan, and no one will remember Vignesh.
Right. Now, Vignesh, just to round out our discussion for today, now amid the craze for NFTs, which have been appreciating greatly, now some critics are saying this could be another digital bubble waiting to burst. What's your take on this?
I would say bubbles are better identified in hindsight. So I'm not very good at, like predicting if this is a bubble or not. But, we should, when life gives us a lemon, we should make lemonade, right? So if you feel it's a bubble, maybe it's not the best time to be a collector. But think about it for an artist. So if you're an artist out there, this NFT is for you, right? Like this bubble is for you. If everyone is paying a lot of money for your NFTs, your digital creation, then why not an artist use this situation, right? Like and sell some of their creations online. So I think there is always two sides to the bubble, and people can use it their own way. I live inside this bubble, so I go up with it, I go down with it. I don't mind. But people who are investing should be careful, not just about NFTs, but about crypto and any other asset in general, right? So that's very different. But artists should use this situation and understand that this shift is for them, and we are calling them to do more.
Well, Vignesh, it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for making time for us. That was Vignesh Sundaresan, also known as Metakovan.
A quick look overseas, the Myanmar protesters yesterday held candlelit vigils for those who've died in the demonstrations. At least 261 people have been killed by security forces, including 3 in Mandalay yesterday. One of the 3 was a 15-year-old boy. Meanwhile, the European Union and the US will impose sanctions targeting businesses run by the military.
10 people, including a police officer, were killed in a shooting at a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. A suspect who was injured in the incident has been arrested. No details were given about him. This is the second deadly mass shooting in the US in less than a week.
According to Sinovac Biotech, its COVID-19 vaccine appears to be safe and can trigger immune responses among children and adolescents. The preliminary data is based on phase 1 and 2 clinical trials with over 500 participants between 3 and 17 years old. They received 2 shots of either medium or low dosage of the vaccine or a placebo. The most adverse reactions were mild and the antibody levels triggered were higher than those seen in adults above the age of 18.
We're going to talk about the manufacturing sector in Singapore because it's something that we don't really realize is very much ingrained in our everyday lives.
For example, the one item that we can't function without, even for just one day, is our phones.
That's right.
And over 10% of the world's semiconductor chips, which power every smartphone on the planet, are produced from factories right here in Singapore.
Well, Singapore has positioned itself as a manufacturing hub with multinational companies locating their strategic or regional headquarters here. We're among the top 10 largest global exporters of high-tech goods. We also produce 4 of the world's top 10 drugs.
The key production areas are electronics like semiconductor chips and computer peripherals, biomedical products like pharmaceutical ingredients and medical devices, precision engineering including optical instruments and metal precision components, and general products such as food, beverages and apparel.
Well, joining us now to share more about the manufacturing sector is Singapore Economic Development Board's Executive Vice President Lim Kok Kiang. Welcome to the show. So, this sector, the manufacturing sector, accounts for more than 20% of GDP and employs around 12% of Singapore's workforce. Kok Kiang, how would you describe these figures and how important, manufacturing is to Singapore, considering our small population and land size?
No, thank you. I would say that the figures are significant and that manufacturing is important for Singapore for a number of reasons. I'll mention three. First and foremost, I think manufacturing at 20% of GDP, along with services, are our twin engine of growth. So manufacturing actually provides resilience and diversity to our manufacturing base or to our economic base. If you look at 2020, the manufacturing output grew by 7.3%. And again, it's an example of how manufacturing acts resilience in a very difficult environment. Number two, actually manufacturing allows us to keep in touch with technology. Manufacturing accounts for more than 50% of the business expenditure in R&D, while contributing 20% of GDP. What this means is basically manufacturing sector invests substantially in innovation, in R&D, in products and processes. And this accumulation of technological capabilities is very useful, and it could in future be deployed in new areas of growth or adjacent areas of growth, whether in manufacturing or in services. So that's number two. And number three, of course, needless to say, manufacturing creates good job opportunities for people in Singapore. So 12% is a significant number. Now, maybe allow me to add this, which is basically manufacturing in Singapore competes on a global basis. So manufacturers continue to look at ways and means to upgrade, upskill, and transform their manufacturing operations in order to be competitive, doing more with the same, doing more with less. And I think it's this drive towards productivity that actually allows us to actually grow and compete in the manufacturing sector while being mindful of the resource constraints, whether land or labor in Singapore.
Kok Kiang, despite the pandemic, manufacturing had a 7.3% growth last year, and Singapore wants to grow its manufacturing sector by 50% by 2030. What are the bright spots in manufacturing for Singapore that can drive the sector to meet this target?
I think if you look at, despite the challenging environment, I think we see sectors such as electronic semiconductors, precision engineering, in the biomedical science side of the house, medtech, I think doing relatively well as part of the established sectors in Singapore. So we see companies like Thermo Fisher, Becton Dickinson, continuously expanding their operations here. At the same time, we're also seeing, newer industries or growth opportunities coming up in the areas of mobility, for example, where Hyundai is investing in an innovation center here in Singapore, including a manufacturing operation. And in the area of agri-tech, where we see a company like Just actually investing in a plant in Singapore to produce ingredients for plant-based eggs. So whether in established industries or in new growth areas, we're seeing opportunities, in this sector.
Right. Well, what then are the opportunities for Singaporeans, especially considering that we're trying to position ourselves as a business hub for multinational companies?
I think in those areas and sectors that I mentioned earlier, there are definitely opportunities for Singaporeans to participate and grow as the sectors evolve and transform in Singapore. Perhaps allow me to add also that in the past, perhaps there was perception about the manufacturing environment being a little bit hot and dirty, but I think that has evolved over a period of time as well. I mean, we talked about the fact that companies are constantly looking at improving processes, transforming the operations, upskilling the workforce. So the job roles and scope and the operating environment in the shop floor has improved tremendously. If I were to give an example, Infineon, a semiconductor company that has substantial manufacturing operations here, Over the years, they have continuously looked at ways to upgrade and upskill the operations, making it best in class. Above and beyond that, they have announced that they are setting up their Global AI Innovation Center here in Singapore. And what this endeavors to do is really, as part of it, training 1,000 of their employees with AI capabilities, upskilling them with AI capabilities, so that the team can then look at developing and deploying AI solutions to improve different aspects of the business operations and the shop floor. So this is an example where a company continue to evolve their process, upskill the workforce, so the workforce is able to contribute more in terms of new areas to improve processes. So by and large, I think there's opportunities for the workforce here. At the same time, for those of us who are more inclined to look at new technology areas, I'll give an example of additive manufacturing or 3D printing. Today in Singapore, there's an ecosystem of over 200 companies, from big companies like HP and the Thyssen Group, Evonik, to young, smaller companies, emerging companies like 3D Metal Forge. And the whole community is working hard to look and see how to develop and deploy additive manufacturing process and solutions into the different manufacturing sectors. So again, this would provide opportunities for people who want to involve themselves in new manufacturing processes to actually come on board as well. So all in all, I would say that whether in the more established industries, looking at deploying new technologies, or even in nascent manufacturing technology, additive manufacturing, I think the scope for opportunities in the manufacturing sector will continue to be a very attractive one.
Well, we appreciate your time with us today, Kok Kiang. Thanks for coming on the show. We've been speaking with Lim Kok Kiang, Executive Vice President at EDB.
Well, for more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below.
Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.